Hello everybody, good evening and welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United news as we talk about Amorim, Ruben Amorim, our manager, and the transfer madness that has actually transpired in front of our eyes, not only in the last few hours, but also over the last month as well. I think when it comes to Ruben Amorim, he's just done a fantastic job. And look, the show's a little bit late tonight, but I really wanted to do it because I just wanted to take a step back and by all means get your questions in about Tell or Dorgu or Marcus Rashford or whatever you want. But I just wanted to take a little bit of a step back on a Saturday night and say, there's a lot going on. And there's going to be a lot going on tomorrow and the day after that. But here we are this Saturday night. And I just wanted to take a little bit of a helicopter view of what's going on at Manchester United and say, Ruben Amorim has done a fantastic job, an absolutely fantastic job. You can say what you like about Erik ten Hag, Jose Mourinho. They did win trophies, but through their own fault or through no fault of their own, they didn't remove players. I mean, Jose Mourinho said last summer, there's 3 players at that club now that were here when I was here that I wanted to get rid of. Erik ten Hag, look, say what you like about Erik ten Hag, but Erik ten Hag, to me, I don't know. I don't know whether he was the guy that wanted to get rid of people or not, who just kept stubbornly sticking with things. But Ruben Amorim's been here 2 months. He's walked into the club, he's isolated Casemiro. Whether Casemiro goes in the next 2 days or not, you're not part of his plans, mate. You're not important. You might think you are, you might want to earn your money, you might get to play some game time for Man United, but you are not a priority player for him, and he has shown that. He has sat your ass on the bench for the last 2 months and he barely uses you. He'd rather use Collier, he'd rather use Eriksen. He doesn't want to use you, and the whole world can see that. And Amorim, regardless of your wage or reputation, will sit your ass down. Marcus Rashford, the biggest player in that dressing room, Mr. Untouchable, we thought, and I genuinely did think that. He has sat his ass, he hasn't even sat his ass down, he sent him home. I don't want you here. I'm not going to use you. I don't care who you are. I don't care about the number 10. I don't care about all the stuff you've done. I don't care whether you're Manc born and bred. I don't care if you're on 300 grand a week. I don't care whether you've got Player FC. I don't care how many millions of people follow you on Instagram. I don't care what threats or what abuse I get. I'm the boss. You're not getting in my team, so you better go and find yourself a football club. Anthony, gone. And I think, you know what? In the midst of what is quite exciting, chaotic time in the next 2 days and the last 2 days, let's just take a moment to see where this is coming from. Because it ain't coming from Joel Glazer, who is still running the football club. And it ain't coming from Sir Jim Radcliffe, who doesn't seem to understand much about football. This is coming from Ruben Amorim. And where I will applaud Ineos and maybe Joel Glazer a little bit is the fact that they've actually finally figured out that a manager must manage and a manager must make their decisions. So when you sack a manager, then you can honestly say, hand on heart, we did everything they wanted and they failed. Ralph Rangnick got sacked because he said this needed doing and basically exposed how crap the management was. Jose Mourinho clearly wasn't allowed to buy the players he wanted to and sell the players that he wanted to, and he ended up getting the sack. Solskjaer, I don't know. Erik ten Hag, look, he had a lot of money. Did he get the players he wanted? Was he allowed to sell players? We'll never know. But what we do know is that managers, we've been bad at selling. We've not been great at buying. And I think it's early days, but look, I think if we get Tell in the next 2 days, it's great. I'm very happy with Dorgu, but I've said it so many times, and so have you, over the recent years, I remember even last summer saying this. Yes, we'll buy players. I remember saying this last May. Yes, we'll buy players, but for me, the summer will be dictated to on how many we remove. And that is, to me, the biggest thing. And look, letting McTominay go, McTominay wanted to go. Letting Wan-Bissaka go, Wan-Bissaka wanted to go. They were good deals, but the players wanted to go. For me, it's always been about the sacrificial lamb and getting rid of the expensive players that nobody wants. And we've done that in January. Not completely, but we have done that. And I think it's incredible. And look, it's only the start, but if there's a lot of things that worry me about Manchester United, and yes, a lot of things worry me about Man United, and they might worry you when you start to find out some of the stuff we'll be talking about in the future about what's going on at Man United. But for now, and even in the future, I am very happy with Ruben Amorim. I really, really am. And it makes me laugh as well. I'm going to get into some of your comments, but I don't know whether you've seen it. And I'm not going to pinpoint anybody in particular because there's quite a lot of people doing it. It's the death of Player FC, isn't it? You know, this whole Rashford, Garnacho thing and Garnacho staying and Rashford's going. There's going to be some people that have got really, really moody tonight because they've basically staked their reputation on backing Rashford, and they made it about Rashford Garnacho. They made it about Rashford, and tonight they look, it looks like he's going to go. And that's the danger with Player FC. I don't care if people like Rashford. I like Rashford when he's playing well. When he's not playing well, I'll call him shit. I'll give him a 4 out of 10. I'll give him a 3 when he's not running around. I'll say get out of our football club when you can't be asked in training. Because you are just a commodity. You are just a pawn in a game of chess. I don't do the Player FC thing. Like, I like Rasmus, I like Bruno, but I will give them a low score. And I will say we need a striker at the moment based on what we've got because I want Man United to do well. But it's incredible some of the stuff that's been put out there tonight. And I'm sort of like, I'm going to resist it because I've seen it. People have sent me tweets. I was out for a Chinese then and people were sending me like stuff of like accounts tweeting out about, thank you, Marcus Rashford. You've always... you've been amazing at the football club and it's sad what the football club's done to you and we wish you all the best. It's not your fault. And, we should all remember Marcus Rashford and what a great servant he's been to the club. And I thought, hold on a minute. This ain't bloody Ryan Giggs walking out with however many Premier League titles retiring. This is a 27-year-old who retired at 25 and can't be asked to train. Like, I don't think we need to be sat here like doing Marcus Rashford compilation saying thank you for your service. He shouldn't be bloody leaving. He's 27. He shouldn't be going anywhere. I completely disagree with this. Oh, it's not his fault. Oh, we wish him all... I do wish him all the best, actually. I do. I want him to do well. But let's not pretend we're leaving for any other reason that he's just, for some reason, completely not interested in playing for Man United over the last few weeks. We've needed him. We've needed him for the last 18 months and he's not been there. And there's probably a very good reason for it. We don't know what that reason is. But let's not act like, a player that we've paid 300 grand a week to, who, 2 years ago, nobody would have thought this was going to happen. He shouldn't be going. And it's certainly not Ruben Amorim's fault. So whose fault is it then? It's not Ineos's fault and it's not the Glazers' fault. I don't get the whole, he's been a great servant to the club. I think he could still be a great servant to the club. He could still be here. He could come back in the summer. I just think, it's a weird take. This is a really sad situation. And we'll probably one day find out the truth. But this shouldn't even be happening. It's a pity. It's a pity this is happening. I wish him all the best because I want him to go. I think he's a good player. And I think that at Aston Villa, he might reignite something and then we could get some money in the summer. I don't see a way back. But look, I really hope that Ruben Amorim, going back to what I'm saying, I really hope that this is a kick up the arse for a lot of our fans to stop idolising players over your football club. Because I've seen this for years. I've seen it for years. People just home in on certain players and can't stop obsessing about them to the detriment of others. There's nothing wrong with having favourite players, but it's when people start, Pogba versus Bruno or Rashford versus Garnacho, and it's like they play for the same fucking club. Let's just judge them on performance. Let's not stop, pretending that they are like not responsible for what they do. And as I said, look, this fake nonsense that I give Rasmus big scores every game and I think he should start every single game and I think he's going to be the best thing since sliced bread. The last 6 previews, I've put Xerxes in. The last 5 previews, post-match reactions, I've given him lower than a 5. He ain't playing very well. We desperately need a senior striker. What Rasmus's future is, I don't know. Hopefully, he will be a good player for Man United, but he might not be. In a year's time, he might be going the same way as Rashford. And that's the thing I'm saying. This Player FC thing needs to die. Amorim is in charge. He could be coming for your player next. Rashford FC have seen it. He could be coming for Bruno FC. He could be coming for Rasmus FC. He could be coming for Garnacho FC. And that's why these FCs need to die. Because you can have favourites, but get behind the manager, get behind Manchester United. And I think, going back to what I was saying at the start, that's the message. Because I can see people moaning in the chat saying, oh, you're being a bit petty towards Marcus. I'm not being petty. I couldn't give a shit about Marcus. I couldn't give a shit about Bruno. I couldn't give a shit about Dalot. I couldn't give a shit about any of them individually, because it's a team. We're Manchester United. I never saw this when we were winning the treble. And I was like the same age as some of you then. And there was people younger than me, and there was people older than me, and they weren't turning up to Old Trafford going, you know, Giggsy FC, Giggsy FC, oh, Giggs is better than Beckham. You know, we just didn't have it because we were a team, and it really is important. And it's not coming from me. I'm just giving you what I think our manager's doing. Everything I've said in the last 10 minutes is exactly what the manager is doing. I don't think Ruben Amorim's there going to Marcus Rashford, thanks for being a great servant to the club, mate. No hard feelings. All the best to Aston Villa. Is he fuck? He's going, I was going to use you. You were going to be important to me, and you didn't put the work in for 2 months. So you're not part of my plans. Goodbye. I wish you all the best, but you know what? You haven't been a great servant for me at all. I've been here 2 months. You've given me next to nothing. I've had to sell you. I've had to get you out of the club. I expected better. And that is the message I think Amorim is sending out. And if you're not on board with that, I don't get it. I don't think anybody is safe now. I remember saying this 2 years ago. I remember saying 2 years ago, going into Ten Hag's season after we'd won the Carabao Cup, I said, I still feel that this needs a sacrificial lamb, because I still feel there's remnants of the Player FC from the Oli Ranić era. And I felt we needed somebody high profile to be taken out of that dressing room and almost an example to the rest of the dressing room that this stops now. All the little bitching, all the little going to the CEO, you don't have the power, the manager has the power, you keep your gob shut. And I think that's what Amorim's done. And I don't know whether Rashford's a scapegoat. I don't know whether it's been, maybe Amorim looked at the club from outside and went, that's the player I'm going for, because if I take him out, everyone's going to sit up and notice. He could have done it to Bruno. He could have done it to, you know, another player. But I think what we have, and I can't believe anybody would complain about this because it's coming from your manager. I think what we have is a manager that has basically said, I'm in charge, I'm in control, there is no Player FC. If anybody fucks about, you're out. And look, let's take it away from Rashford. Casemiro's been sat on his arse for a month. Garnacho missed the Manchester derby completely. I mean, look, let's go back. He took Garnacho and Rashford fit out of a Manchester derby at the Etihad. He took them out. You're not even in the squad. Two of our best players, you're not going to be in the Manchester derby at the Etihad, where we could have been battered 9-0. And he took them out because they didn't do something he liked. Ten Hag would never have done that. Whatever you think about Ten Hag, and I like Ten Hag, there ain't no way Ten Hag would make a principled decision like that. He would always go with the football. You know, a week later after Belfast, Marcus Rashford played. He wanted to bring Greenwood back, even though it would have been massively unpopular with some elements of the fan base. He wanted Greenwood back for football reasons. He brought Rashford back for football reasons. He wouldn't drop Garnacho and Rashford for an Etihad Manchester derby because he'd be worried about losing the game for football reasons. What we have in the manager here is somebody who has principle. And the last manager I remember with principles was Jose Mourinho, and the last manager I remember before that was Sir Alex Ferguson. You'd be going to Leeds, Ellen Road, you'd look at the team news and go, where the fuck's David Beckham? He's playing Luke Chadwick. And David Beckham wouldn't be even on the bench, he'd be sat in the fucking stands, and you go, oh, what's gone on here? And in those days, you wouldn't know because you didn't have social media, but something had gone wrong. Something had gone wrong and you were out of the team. And I think this is just brilliant what's going on. And it might not be brilliant for you because it's happening to your players. But look, if I genuinely was Rasmus FC, I'd be like, oh no, Xerxes in the team. Slag off Xerxes. I want Xerxes to do well. I think he's had a lot of unfair criticism and people have written him off. I just want to back the manager. The only person I want to back is the manager because the manager makes the decisions and you've got to trust that. You might not always agree with it, but you've got to be on board with that. And I think we've empowered our players for too long. They've almost become managers in themselves. And look, players are fantastic, but we're a team. The manager is the individual, the players are the team. And that's what I want to see at Manchester United. And I think in a very short period of time, even though we've had some bad results, I have been constantly impressed by Amorim and what he said. And look, this, as I've said it so many times as well, Ralph Rangnick was getting beat every week, but his press conferences were absolutely fantastic, and he spoke so much sense. And I think we have that. I really do. I've always felt really regretful and sad about how Rangnick got dealt with because of how he spoke. And I felt we'd missed the boat. I always felt that we missed the boat. This guy who was talking about structure, open heart surgery, toxicity, even Ollie said one bad apple infects the fruit bowl. We always knew there was toxicity in that dressing room. And I think with Rangnick, it felt like it would change. And then we didn't change it. And then Ten Hag came in and we lost 2.5 years not changing it. But in 2 months, I think a guy has come in and he is going to change it. And I like it. And I think there will be more casualties, by the way. If you're upset because Rashford was your favourite player and you're like, oh, he's done it to my favourite player, I guarantee he won't be the last one. Not for 1 minute do I think he'll be the last one. I think there will be more. I think there will be players that step out of line. I think there'll be players that come in and don't perform to the level that he requires. And I think they will be gone. And I think it's a reminder of who we are. We're Manchester United and we used to have standards. And those standards have slipped very, very far. And I think those standards are going to get raised. And as they get raised, people who maybe are working hard just aren't good enough. You'll be gone. I think I agree with you, CG. I think Amorim is very, very smart. I think he reads people really, really well. I think you can't pull the wool over his eyes. I think he's wide awake to the media. I think he's wide awake to fan culture. And I think he's wide awake to the workings of the Glazers. And I think he's wide awake to how players work. And I think he's breaking it down. The clicks are gone. The leaks are gone. And look, that's not... Look, somebody said, oh, the leaks have stopped since Marcus Rashford was dropped. That is so unfair. The leaks have stopped because he's told them all to stop. And nobody has the balls to do anything about it anymore. I don't think Rashford necessarily was the leak. I think old Luckhurst from Manchester Evening News gets stuff from Rashford, and I've said that for weeks. I think it's very obvious he gets stuff from Rashford. I mean, it's the only transfer he's had any information on for a decade, and he's right tapped in on the Rashford deal because he's getting stuff from Rashford. Around the time Rashford got dropped, he was getting it. He's obviously got an in there, but look, Simon Jones had an in on Branthwaite when we bid for him. These things happen, but I don't know that Rashford was leaking the team. I think there was more than one source, to be honest. But it's all stopped completely. Another thing that stopped under Amorim that was going on for the last 5 years. There's a lot that Amorim is doing. There's a lot more that needs to be done as well. But I think he's doing a fantastic job. And I think we will start to see better results on the pitch as well. Depending who you ask, goalkeeper is priority in the summer. It was originally Onana versus Costa. If we get a goalkeeper, could it be him? Portuguese and Amorim will be familiar, says Ravel. I think in relation to... Look, let's bring it back to transfers then very, very quickly. Where we are tonight is that Rashford's very close to joining Aston Villa, and I'm sure he will do. And obviously, it's best for everybody if he does well, and I hope he does. And I think the potential is there if he reevaluates his footballing life and applies himself correctly. I think he could be a decent signing for Villa, and I hope he is. Tell, I think we've got a chance. As I said this afternoon, I think we've got a good chance, but we'll have to wait and see what happens in the next sort of 48 hours. But I think we have got a good chance, and I'd be quite happy with that. As regards a goalkeeper, because look, let's be honest, in 48 hours, this transfer window's shut and you're looking forward to the next one. I think we need a new goalkeeper. I actually agree with you. I think we need a new goalkeeper. You know, I was very vocal about David De Gea going. I think it was a massive mistake. And that's on Ten Hag, of course. Ten Hag wasn't perfect. And I think it was a catastrophic decision. And you talk about PSR, and you talk about having to sell Garnacho to get 40 million in, and thankfully we didn't, but it just tells you how tight we are for PSR. And then you look at a decision that was only 2 years ago where you've got a goalkeeper who's 31 in his prime and is, knows the Premier League like the back of his hand, is a leader at the club. You let him walk out the door for nothing and you spend £50 million on his replacement. I mean, you talk about PSR and we literally just shit 50 million down the drain on something we didn't need to do. It wouldn't have happened. It wouldn't happen under Amorim and it wouldn't happen under Ineos. I'll give him credit for that. So, look, that leaves us in a difficult position because the investment in Onana is incredible. But ultimately, I think he's a weakness. I do. I think Onana is a weakness for where we want to go. I think he's absolutely fine if you want to win the FA Cup, the Carabao Cup, maybe even the Europa League. I think Onana is a good goalkeeper to a point. I don't think he, helps you compete for the Champions League. I don't think he helps you compete for top 4. I think there's too many mistakes across the season, and I think his handling of crosses or ability to come for crosses is a massive problem the way teams are using set pieces now. So I think if we go for a goalkeeper, we need to do some good homework on them. I think United will go for a younger goalkeeper that works as an understudy to Onana and takes his place. I think that's what the plan will be, something a little bit cheaper. Luke Shaw next says, Ice Ice Baby. Well, let's see what happens with Luke Shaw when he comes back from this injury, but very hard player to get rid of because of the contract, and why would anybody pay for him? I think Andre says, I think Amorim is different in the sense that he's taken decisions you'd think you'd never see in a club, you'd always hope would happen. He actually fixes things and the culture of the club. I think you've nailed it, Andre. I think the thing with Ruben Amorim is that we've had this community for quite a while. And whilst it's been here for 10 years, we haven't been saying this for 10 years. But we've certainly been saying it since Van Gaal, which was 10 years ago, where we're rubbish at getting rid of the deadwood. And I think over the years, we've been rubbish at getting rid of the deadwood. But I think it got to a point where as a fan base and as a community, we almost got to the point where we were saying, if I was in charge, I'd walk in and I'd go, get out, get out, get out. Obviously, that's just a fan approach. You're like, I don't know really how viable is that? I'd walk in and I'd get rid of Bruno, Rashford, Shaw. I wouldn't do that, but you know what I mean? People say it. But then I think it did get to the point where it was becoming so toxic, and let's be clear, on a league table, we're going down. We won't be in Europe next year. Like, we are going, whether people like it or not, we are financially and performance-wise dipping. We are dropping. And you've got to stop that drop, and you've got to come back up. So it got from fans going, if I went in, I'd do this, this, and this, probably knowing no one's ever going to do it. But I think it actually got to the point where actually somebody did need to go in and go, we are dropping like a stone here. You do need to go in and go, look, there's no point just buying me players. There is a big issue with what we already have. I do need to get rid of that, and that. And I'm sure the conversation from the Glazers and Ineos was, but they're big contract, big players. And then Amorim's probably gone, mate, look, I don't give a shit if they're an 18-year-old on $5,000 a week, or they're a 27-year-old on $300,000 a week, or they're a 32-year-old on $350,000 a week. I want to build the team with the 18-year-old. I don't want them. In fact, I don't even want them on the bench. I don't want them at the training ground. I think they are bad for the club and where I'm going to go. So I don't care what you're saying to me about the economics. You've got to find a way to move them on, because I'm telling you, in my mind, they won't help us build. They're not going to be part of this future. And the mistake you've made over the last 5 years is you keep them around because you look at the spreadsheet and go, it's really difficult to get rid of them. I'm telling you, that spreadsheet's going to sink you because the league table and the performance and Europe are disappearing. And I think this is a factor in it. We need to rebuild from the top to the bottom, and you won't do it. And I think that's what he's done. This is live, yes. Ali Jabbar gifted a membership. Thank you very much. So did Yechi. Rob Always United's gifted 5 memberships. Yechi's gifted 5 memberships. JHP has gifted memberships. Mojo has gifted 5 memberships. Yechi has gifted 20 memberships. Yechi says, this is the happiest I've been in months. Hi, Mark. I remember you saying that Ten Hag might be the guy before the guy. Is Amorim that guy? Also, I'll be at the Dublin show. Can't wait. Thank you, mate. Reminder about the Dublin show. Tickets are going fast. It's going to be an absolute cracker on March the 19th, Wednesday, March the 19th, in the in Dublin in the international break. Get your tickets, and we can't wait to see you there. You can scan the QR code that's next to me to do that. Get them while you can. I've just had a bit of breaking news coming in here. Breaking news. Kuna set to sign new long-term deal at Wolves for the next 4.5 years. He's staying at Wolves. There will be a release clause valid from June 2025. Agreements reached. So he's not going anywhere in January. We weren't, to be fair, we weren't doing that deal anyway. We weren't doing that deal. If you want Kuna at Man United, that deal is probably quite good, because we couldn't do him. We couldn't get him in January anyway. I remember you. Thank you very much, Manny. Mark, would you say now that Amorim is clearing the trash, this could be the best building block for the future? Look, Louis van Gaal, Jose Mourinho, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Erik ten Hag, and Amorim. The only one who has gone anywhere near clearing players is Amorim, and he's done it in 2 months. If Jose Mourinho had been allowed to get rid of the players he wanted to, maybe he'd still be here now running a dynasty. I've always said this. Being the manager of Manchester United is like having one arm tied behind your back, going into a boxing ring against accomplished boxers with 2 hands, and you've got one. You can't defend and throw punches with one hand. It's impossible. So, well, it's not impossible. You've got to be bloody good to do it, though. And against people who are good with 2 hands, you're going to struggle. So, I think that having a man. This is the first time this has happened. So, whether it works or not, it's certainly a principle that should have been applied for years. The best he can do for us is play good and get his value up, says Jacob. JHP's gifted a membership. Peter says, hi Mark, is Rashford good enough to start bringing youth players in? More changes are needed so that we don't ruin the future. Culture shift, says Peter. Yechi's given another 5 memberships. He's going mad. He's on a membership madness. United was the gold standard of the Premier League, says Alex. No one in the past decade would have been on any Sir Alex Ferguson matchday squad. Mojo's gifted a membership as well. Legend. Mark, change the Rashford logo at the left bottom, says Yechi. No, it's just, it's there as a tribute for all the people who are upset tonight. You know, we are a community. We cater for all opinions. So I've just put Rashford there as a mark of respect on what a great servant he's been to the club, and just to make it, for there are genuine people think I'm taking the piss. I'm not taking the piss. Just because my opinion's a little bit different to that, and I think it's ridiculous, like what's happened to his career, and it's on him, and he's got to go and build it somewhere else when he should be rebuilding it here. But there are people out there who I really like, who are really upset about this. So, there it is. Marcus Rashford in the bottom right-hand corner. Mike JBA's gifted a membership. Rest in peace, Player FC. 2014 to 2025. I'll drink to that, Alex. Love my club. Amorim's the best thing that happened since Sir Alex. Also, if the next few days are good, I'm happy with the window. Trash out, says Yechi. And Patrick Lynch says, with Rashford, Amorim made a statement with how it will be at the club from now on. It's club and team above brand and individual players. It's needed if we want Man United to be successful. I couldn't put it any better. Brand FC, Player FC needs to be over. I just want players. Good riddance. The cancer is leaving the club, says Victor. Mark, my mother recently passed away. This community is therapeutic for my mental health, says Chung. Hope you're doing well, mate, and sorry to hear that. But yeah, it's a fantastic community, and it's great that you feel part of it. Mount's agent has been told to look for a new team, says Kyle. Mate, no one's buying Mason Mount. I don't believe that for 1 minute. Could be nothing, but Rashford has changed his profile pic on Instagram from him in a United shirt to a non-United picture. Is he gone? Yes, mate, he will be gone. He'll definitely be gone, and I hope he can do well elsewhere. I genuinely do. I don't know why people wouldn't think that, but you know what? It's interesting how somebody mentions. Yeah, it's just a picture of him in a t-shirt now, drinking water. You know what somebody said to me, actually, just on his page. On the 31st of December, Marcus Rashford put a picture out. Happy New Year. Of him sat in front of a picture of himself when Man United played Newcastle and we just lost to Newcastle. It just reminded me, somebody said this to me. Do you think he was sending a message? And I'd not thought about this for weeks, but we lost to Newcastle, I think, the night before, and he put that picture up saying Happy New Year, but behind him is a picture of him, his shirt, against Newcastle. And somebody said to me, do you think he was sort of sending a bit of a message that he didn't get picked, Newcastle lost, and here's a picture of him when he played against Newcastle? And I said, do you think he's that switched on to do that? Genuinely? Do you think he's that clever enough to do that? It's an open-ended question. I think I was just like, I think he's just saying Happy New Year. Anyway, Sir Alex Ferguson. But I just wanted to say, somebody said there, not since Sir Alex Ferguson have we had a manager like Ruben Amorim. And I think, you know what, just made me think, when Sir Alex Ferguson came into Manchester United, we were a cup team who weren't consistent and had a bit of a drinking culture. A bit of a fun time lads culture, which was fine in the 80s. A lot of players were drinking still in the 90s, so it's not like having a drink in the 80s was a bad thing. We'd won the FA Cup in 85. I think we won it in 83 as well. We were a cup team. We hadn't won the First Division, what was the equivalent of the Premier League, since '68. We'd won quite a few cups, but we were a cup team and we couldn't be consistent. Does it sound familiar? Amorim comes in. We've won a couple of cups. We've actually won a few FA Cups and Carabao Cups over the last few years, but we can't get anywhere near a league title. There's a bit of similarities. Also, Sir Alex Ferguson came in and got rid of a few fan favourites. I wasn't old enough to know this as well as I'd know the Premier League era, but Paul McGrath was a fan favourite. He was got rid of. Norman Whiteside was a big fan favourite. He was got rid of. I don't really know the reasons why they were got rid of, but I don't think Sir Alex ever really felt that they were his types of players. Paul McGrath went on and was a bloody brilliant player at Villa. Absolutely brilliant player at Villa. He won Player of the Year at Villa. So Sir Alex Ferguson came in and did the whole sacrificial lamb. He did. I know he became famous for his class of '92 and his development, and he made some good signings, but he also got rid of players. And then he continued to get rid of players. Beckham, Ince, Van Nistelrooy, Jaap Stam. He had a reputation of getting rid of players no matter what their reputation was, and no matter whether they were a fan favourite or not. Sir Alex would get rid of players if he felt like it. He wouldn't, there wouldn't be a poll done. What's the test the water? If I get rid of this player, am I going to be popular or not? He was the boss. I'll make the decisions. We just haven't had that for a long time. Sir Alex Ferguson was trying to get rid of Rooney. So we have a manager that's come in and has done something that has probably shocked a lot of people, but it used to happen. Ruben Amorim has come in, and he's done something that shocks a lot of people. But it used to happen quite regularly. We used to do this a lot. And I think we need to get used to it again. It won't just be Rashford. There will be other players this happens to, and hear to that. Because as I've said before, if you think Marcus Rashford's the problem at Manchester United, you're a bloody idiot. There are multiple problems at Manchester United. Absolutely loads. If you want one problem at Manchester United, it's a word called Glazers. They are the biggest problem at Manchester United. Forget Marcus Rashford. If we had competent owners, we'd have a bloody good stadium, we wouldn't be in debt, and we wouldn't have players that are problematic anyway. But from Amorim's point of view, he can't remove the Glazers. So he has to look at the team and he has to dismantle it. And somebody mentioned Onana. He could be gone. I would not rule anything out now. After what's happened with Rashford, who I thought was almost untouchable, and maybe he did himself, I don't know, but I think Marcus Rashford was untouchable. Up until November this year, I think Rashford was untouchable. I don't think Ten Hag had the authority to do this, whether he wanted to or not. I certainly don't think Ollie did. Ollie had to apologise in a bloody press conference. I think he was untouchable, and Amorim has got him out. So I would say nobody's untouchable now. If you said to me, there's no way he'd ever get rid of Mainu or Garnacho or Collier or Onana or Bruno, I'd go, well, hopefully he never will. And he probably won't. But if they do something to piss him off or he doesn't think they're good enough, he will. And that's what you want. It's been horrible over the last few years knowing that we've had players at the football club that the club won't let go. No matter how badly they perform, no matter how they behave, they won't let them go. Now, we're finally a fucking football club again. We're now in a situation as fans where we go, well, who knows? I trust the manager and he's allowed to do what he wants. Who knows? And that's exactly what happened under Sir Alex Ferguson through his entire reign. Players would go. And you never, you'd come back, you've won the title, Jaap Stam's your best centre-back. Oh, we're selling him. What? Why is he selling Jaap Stam? He's not 35. Why is Jaap Stam being sold? He's one of the best bloody centre-backs in Europe. Why are we selling Jaap Stam to Lazio? Oh, he said something in a book about the Nevilles. Off you go. Why are we selling David Beckham? He's one of the best players in England. Oh, Sir Alex has had enough of all the brand stuff. Okay. So, yeah, I think we're heading towards that world. And guess what? We were massively successful when we behaved like that. Let us use the rest of the season to get more young players, get their first taste of Premier League football to be ready for next, says Nut. Let's win the bloody Europa League. Mark, don't you think this is just cost-cutting? Why are we buying young players? If it does not work out, we are in trouble. Dorgu is not ready at all, says Ket. Well, I think underlyingly, there is a lot of cost-cutting going on at Manchester United. Of course there is, but at the moment, it's not obvious cost-cutting because the people like Casemiro and Rashford do need to go. If they were playing brilliantly and we were getting rid of them, I'd be screaming, this is a disgrace. But they're not playing to the level that we're paying. So, yes, it will be cost-cutting. I'm sure Sir Jim Radcliffe and Joel Glazer's eyes are lighting up when Amorim's saying we need to get rid of Rashford and Casemiro because they're going, if we can get rid of them, look at the wage. But that it's also the right decision as well. Could Dorgu get presented tomorrow at Old Trafford, says Luke. Yeah, sometimes that happens. We might get an official announcement in the morning ahead of it, I suppose. Rudolph's gifted a membership. Mate, there's so many memberships been gifted tonight. What a night to get your badge in. Good day, thoughts on hair in general. You're very impressive in the Follis department. You should grow some dreads, says Drizzy. Athletic just posted about interest in Bailey, says Saeed. Leon Bailey. I mean, I remember Leon Bailey being linked to us when he was in Germany at... There's a bloody quiz question. Was he at Hertha Berlin or was it Hoffenheim? Where was Leon Bailey in Germany? I don't think I've got it. I don't think it was Hoffenheim. Leverkusen. I feel like he was somewhere else in Germany then. Am I getting the right player here? I might be thinking about another winger. Leon Bailey. Genk, Leverkusen, Villa. I'm thinking about somebody else. Who am I thinking about then? I'm sure there was a winger that was at Hoffenheim or Hertha Berlin that we got linked to years ago. Yeah. Yeah, we have been linked to him anyway. We have been linked to him. Leon Bailey. There we go. Leon Bailey is being considered by Manchester United as a potential attacking option. United are yet to advance talks with Villa and would be separate to Marcus Rashford deal. I don't really know who gets the better deal there, us or them. Benfica don't want Malacia anymore, says Jamaican duo. I don't know why they did in the first place. I hope we get some locker room generals back in the club. Amorim doesn't need to deal with Sancho or Rashford situations. Let the lads keep the peace, says Alex. Damien General, thank you very much. Happy he's gone, but that night in Paris, says Penn. Yeah, harder than a wedding night, Dick. Evening, Mark. How many transfer windows do you think Amorim will need by June? I imagine he'll have core of 10-9 players. Players he feels he can progress with another 7 or 8, says James. Depends how much money we've got. I'd say at least this summer transfer window, January and next summer. Reports are now saying Malacia is no longer going to Benfica, says Smoggy. Thank you very much. Lloyd says, the game where Rashford just walked around when players just strolled past him said it all about Rashford. No more player FC, says Lloyd. Love you, Mark. The difference between Garnacho and Rashford is that Garnacho proved Amorim wrong and Rashford proved Amorim right, says Wyatt. The difference between Rashford and Garnacho is that 20 years of age, Rashford would be doing exactly what Garnacho is and did. At 20 years of age, Rashford never stopped running. At 20 years of age, Rashford was amazing. It's unfair to compare Garnacho to Rashford because there's 7 years difference. The problem is, for some reason, Rashford's fire went out because at 19, 20, 21, 22, he'd never stopped running. He was a fantastic talent. And I don't know why it went out. Don't know why it went out. No, nobody can ever convince me that Marcus Rashford wasn't a talented player. And hopefully he still will be. But there is a big age difference, yeah. Yechi, thank you. Gifted 50 memberships. Thank you very much. Have you heard anything about possibly getting Heaven from Arsenal? Yeah, he signed today, Weston. Yechi's gifted so many memberships tonight. Absolutely incredible. Have you mentioned this Heaven signing from Arsenal, says Tomo? Yeah, I mean, we've mentioned it on a few shows, but nobody really knows anything about him. I mean, we'll have to just wait and see. Hopefully, we'll get to see. Hopefully, we'll get to see him. He's going into the first team squad, so hopefully, we'll get to see him and we can start to judge him then. What's happening with Lindelof? Says Tyler. He'll walk out on a free in the summer with Ericsson. Edward Winder's gifted for 10 memberships as well. Amorim needs all the support he can get without pre-season coming in the middle of November. No new players. Let's do what he wants. And Zaki, that's fantastic. And I think as well, let's not forget here that he did come in November. He hasn't got a pre-season. He hasn't really got any money. But he's not... What I like about Amorim as well is he's not rested on his laurels or used that as an excuse. It is an excuse. I haven't had any time. I haven't had a pre-season. I haven't got any money. The players aren't good enough. I think everybody would give him that excuse. But whilst he can't have a pre-season and he can't get all the players in he wants, he's not wasting any time. And I've always said this as well. January transfer window is still a transfer window. If you don't do anything and you wait till the summer transfer window is a set period of time. You can only do so much. A builder can't build a house in a week. They can start building it, but they won't get it completed in a week. So if you give him another week, he can do a little bit more. And I think what Amorim's done is, in the January transfer window, is, well, look, Rashford's going to go out on loan. Anthony's gone out on loan. That sets the wheels in motion for them to potentially leave permanently in the summer. If he didn't bother with that, in the summer, you've got to start from scratch. So he is doing things that are within his control. Dorgu's dad, Patrick, will be at Old Trafford tomorrow. He's bought a new suit and shades today. Keep up the great work, Mark. Thank you very much. Saeed gives to the membership. Mark, can you read my chat? Sorry to distract, says Naf. Have there been any leaks since Rashford would drop, says Chris? But yeah, I don't think that's just specifically to do with that. Who was your least favourite Sir Alex Ferguson signing, says Spin? Oh, God, mate. I mean, bloody hell. Off the top of my head, trying to think. There will be somebody that jumps out. That's like swapping Megan Fox for Susan Boyle, says Robert McCormack. How can I get in touch with the team at United Stand if we were to work on having live shows in India? I'm celebrating my 50th today and we'll be sharing something with the community to celebrate, says Mojo. That's football@gmail.com is the best place to get in contact with us. Kuna was at Hertha Berlin, says Guy Fawkes. You're thinking about Diaby, who was also at Villa, says EJ. Rashford made 1.5 million as a Man United player in January, says Aman. Have you watched the video on YouTube about the Glazers stealing our club? It's a must-watch. The channel name is Pull the Trigger, says Mitch. To be like Sir Alex Ferguson, Amorim will need to bring in more academy players. These academy players can easily show first squad players how it's done, says Lewis. Now the focus is off Rashford and it's on Amorim, which is what I think he wants. And Rodolph the Red says, has gifted a membership. Let me have a quick look right here. I might have missed a few chats tonight. I'm trying my best, but it's gone off a little bit tonight. The age of Player FC is over. The time for Manchester United has come. That was from Jamie. And Naf says, this isn't talked about enough, how the Glazers tried to sell Mainu and Garnacho while using Ineos as shills. Those bastards lied to us saying Ineos had full control over footballing decisions. We need to bring back the protests. Let's get the transfer window out of the way. There's a few things that people are working on at the moment that we're aware of that are going to be pretty big for the Glazers to deal with. So let's just get this transfer window out of the way at the moment, because nobody really wants to focus on the Glazers when there's a transfer window going on. So all I'd say is do not go anywhere early next week, because I think there's going to be quite an interesting story breaking, and I think a lot of people are going to be quite interested in it. Khalid says, you are the best, Mark. Why is the deal not permanent? Villa has the pounds from the Duran deal. Red Devil Germany. I think that the Marcus Rashford deal is not permanent because Marcus Rashford probably doesn't want it to be permanent, and Aston Villa probably don't want it to be permanent. It's a bit of a try before you buy. Villa have probably looked at Rashford over the last 18 months and are concerned. And Rashford's probably looked at it and gone, I still wouldn't mind a Barcelona if it's possible. So I think it's a bit of try before you buy. And that could work for us. I understand why people would want it to be a permanent deal, because then he's gone and we don't need to worry about any future issues. But if it goes well, then it could be better. Worst Sir Alex signing? God, I mean, Prunier comes to mind. I didn't like that, but I can't remember whether that was a permanent deal or a loan deal. I just thought he was absolute shit. People will talk about people like Cleverson and Oberton and Beppe and Jemba, but I never really minded them. Sir Alex Ferguson bought a lot of players. I feel like there's a player I can't think of who really I didn't like at Man United, and I can't think who it was. I didn't really like Dion Dublin, you know. No, a lovely guy. I just didn't like the play. You know, when we bought him, I remembered him at Cambridge, and I was like, he's a right big lump. I didn't like that. I didn't like the signing. It just didn't feel like a Man United player. And then he broke his leg straight away, I think, on Monday Night Football. Actually was quite decent at Villa and Coventry. Used to play centre-back and up front. Always played with a smile on his face, but I wasn't actually that enamoured by that type of a player. But yeah, there was a few. I liked Blomqvist. The goalkeeper from Italy I felt sorry for, Taibbi. Yeah. Anyway, is Rashford to Villa done? And do you know of any transfer targets for the summer? I think Rashford to Villa is basically done, Mohammed. But when it will get announced, I don't know. Could still fall through. Yeah, you don't know, but I think it's pretty much done. Yeah. And as I say, look, wish him all the best. I hope it works out. Really, really do. It's better for everybody. Oh, God, there's another one here. There's another post here. It's had 10,000 likes and 2,000 retweets. Basically just a big, oh, we love you, Marcus Rashford. We'll always love you. I don't know. It doesn't... Look, it's all about opinion, and maybe I'm in the minority, not for the first time, but I'm sort of like, I think people are missing the point here. For 18 months, he's been really bad. He's not been putting it in training, the words of the manager, not speculation. Some people think he's not been putting it on the pitch. He's 27, so from basically 25, he's sort of not been interested. He shouldn't be going anywhere. We should be getting another 5 years. He should be breaking our goal record. I don't look, fantastic player at a certain age, but I'm just a little bit confused as to what we're saying thank you for, because we can do that later. It might not even be the end. I'm just very irritated. I'm very irritated that we're having to let him go. I really hoped that at some point that we were going to get this switch of I'm back. I suppose that's my big issue, but I suppose, you know, I suppose it is the end, I suppose that's why people are putting posts like that out. They're seeing it as the end, and they're looking back on the good times, and there were good times, and he was a fantastic player, but I just feel quite bitter, I suppose, that at 27, that's it. Armand says, a small contribution to fill up your gas. Keep on driving. Thanks, Armand. We all know why I'm happy. Rashford out, says Yechi. And remember that Sir Alex quote about Leeds cheating their manager is one of the issues of the last 10 years is we became like that as a team, says Glenn C. Happy Saturday, Mark. Cheers from Cork. Long-time viewer. I often rewatch the FA Cup final preview from last year from 10 minutes. Hell of a team talk, says Brian Trainer. I can't remember that. I'll have to go back and watch that myself. Anyway, I urge the community to be ready for a storm in the summer. This is an Amorim squad. More players might be dropped and we'll need to trust the process. Alex, I think you're absolutely spot on. I don't think this has anything to do with Marcus Rashford. I think this is just the start. I think this is the first piece, and I think that, you know, it's like he's just gone for the biggest to prove his point, but there'll be plenty more. And in Amorim we trust, or I certainly do. Thanks everyone. It's a fantastic show tonight. Thanks everyone who's tuned in and got involved. Big shout out to all the membership contributions as well. If you got your badge, I hope you said thank you. But it's the beginning of the end of Player FC, like Joe says, and long may it continue. I'm tired of having to listen to or see fucking these vile tweets of, you know, abuse and toxicity because you might have given a player FC a lower mark, or, you know, said that they need to be sold. Look, I want a team. I don't want individuals. I want a manager that can shock you tomorrow by getting rid of a player and you just go, oh, okay then, they know best. Player FC needs to die, and I think Ruben Amorim knows that. Thanks everyone for watching. Take care. Back tomorrow at 10 o'clock. Match day at 2 o'clock. Transfer deadline day the day after. There's still, look, we're in the eye of the storm. It's going to kick off again tomorrow. Take care. Speak to you all in a bit.